So welcome back to my watch journey. I promised you a video on my follow-up visit to the Rolex 80. Well, excuse this longer video because I've got a lot to say. And some of it is going to upset some people. Let's get into it. First, a couple of housekeeping notes. Out of all my experience and frustration with visiting ADs, I've come up with a plan to beat the waitlist. No, it's not the usual clickbait about sending your hot wife to your AD's house. That's not it. There's a lot of information that I've uncovered, so I'm going to split it into two videos. The first video will talk about the real problem with the waitlist. Some of the details, you'll hear it in this video. The second part will discuss the method to beat the waitlist. So look out for that because they will be coming up right after this video. Second, I'm an ambassador for Watch Crunch. It's the home for watch nuts like you and me. Check out the link below. Right now, we're talking about the new, what I call the bubblegum OP. Is it too much? Is it fun? Click the link and join in the fun. Now, in this video, I'm gonna give you 3 pro tips to navigate the AD visit. I believe it'll help you in your visit and hopefully you can learn from my experience. So, here we go. I'm heading back to the Rolex AD and I already made a mistake. I got distracted by the two-door shop. Big mistake. I end up talking to Lawrence, who's a nice guy. He is, but I mentioned that I'm really here to see Steve. Remember Steve from the other video? Right away, he tells me that Steve won't call me. He says, yeah, I work with Steve and he's got inventory, but he won't call me. You've got no spend history, so forget it. I tell him, no, Steve is cool. Are we talking about the same guy? Lawrence asks me, is Steve the bald guy? I tell him, no, Steve has hair. He says, no, I know the guy and he's bald. And we go back and forth on this for some reason. I don't know. Okay, so first of all, pro tip 1, if your Rolex AD is bald, don't go around telling people, no, he's got hair. Because it turns out, yeah, Steve is bald. Then we're arguing about watches. Lawrence is trying to convince me to buy the BB58, saying its power reserve is 72 hours versus 70 hours for the Rolex. He mentions that the Rolex guys don't like him talking about that. Okay, what's the big deal? 72 versus 70. Not like I care. I have so many automatics that it doesn't matter. So I've had enough and I left a bit upset. I told him, no, I'm going to talk to Steve, who definitely has hair. So I walk over to the Rolex boutique and guess who I see? Yes, the hot Asian girl who blew me off from the last time. Had no interest in me because clearly I had no money. But this time, she gives me a big smile. Oh yeah, she remembers me. Wait, so now she wants to be my personal AD? No way, I'm talking to Steve. At this point, I still think he has hair. So she goes back and brings him out. And you know what happened? I don't recognize him because he has no hair. Yeah, he's bald. Okay, so pro tip number 2. Make sure you remember what your AD looks like in case you want to go back. So it takes me a minute to recover, but we get into a chat. At first it's awkward because, yeah, I forgot what he looks like. But we start talking watches and joking around, and I'm thinking, it's all good. But suddenly it turns dark. He keeps saying he has, quote, no inventory, and he gets a dark look on his face. He looks away from me and appears almost angry, as in, when is this guy gonna get the point? I realize he wants me to spend on other stuff, right? So I walk out immediately, and I was fuming. Okay, I did tell people that you had hair, but still. After I calmed down a bit, I realized that it's the holiday season. This was around the end of December, and I realized that he must be under pressure to sell stuff and meet his quota. Okay, I get it. Still, I wasn't gonna go back in there. So guess what? I decided to try another AD. The store is called Hyde Park Jewelers. They should have been called Hyde Park Jewelers, but never mind. It is an official Rolex shop. And once again, I walk in there and see a lovely young lady. But once again, she completely blows me off. So when I walk in there, I was carrying my art canvas bags. You'll hear more about this when I do my watch reviews, but I love to wear watches when I draw. So I must have looked like a poor art student who clearly can't afford a Rolex, right? What would have happened if I had been wearing a suit with my art bag? Who knows? Since she is ignoring me, I start to take pics of the watches on display. Wow, they actually have some. I figured at least I could remember the watches, but now she immediately walks over to me and tells me, "Sir, we don't allow pictures." What? What about when I try on the watches and take a pic? What's the difference? But she has this nasty tone, and I've had it. So I walk over to the Grand Seiko display and end up talking to a very cool guy. His name is Vito, like the Sopranos. I wasn't sure if he's a Rolex AD, but he had a pleasant demeanor. So we talk about Grand Seiko and about how much I like their 9F Quartz series movement. And then he mentioned some deals on JLC. And wow, just like the last video, the hot Rolex girl is now following us around, eavesdropping. She's listening to all of this. She thought I was a penniless art student who probably had no money, but wanted to try on a Rolex for the lulz, right? Isn't that what the kids say nowadays? Oh, the nerve of this guy, wasting her time, right? So when I mentioned to Vito that spending $10K on a watch was above my limit, she actually laughed. But the guy was cool about it. He mentioned a JLC watch that was a good choice. I think it was called the Eagle something. It was supposed to be a very underappreciated watch. If you know the model, let me know down in the comments. I'd like to know. He also wanted to show me the BB36, which fit great on my wrist. It was my first time trying it, and I almost bought it on the spot. But I don't do impulse buys, so I left after another chat with Vito. I'm leaving, and I'm thinking, wow, that was a fun time. Well, other than being blown off by the Rolex girl. So I suddenly had a sneaky plan. I later emailed Vito about getting a Rolex. Here's what I said. It was a pleasure chatting with you. I'm the guy who asked about the two-door 1926, the Grand Seiko. You pointed out to me the BB36, which I really liked. Are you on the Rolex side? I tried to work with the other person, but it felt off. I don't think we got along. I walked in with a backpack and I must have looked poor, haha. She kind of blew me off. Are you able to get me down on the register, or does it have to be her? I was really expecting an eager reply saying, sure, of course I can get you on the list. But this is what he said. Thanks for reaching out, and I'm sorry you felt that way. Okay, cool. I'm happy to work with you on Rolex. However, I am only able to do so with existing clients on the salon side. Also, remind me what Rolex you are interested in. So I asked him, can you explain what existing clients on the salon side means? He replied, existing client means someone that has purchased a watch or jewelry from me. Pro tip number 3. If he sounds like a nice guy, don't trust them. It turns out the mean salespersons are at least honest. So now we're back to square one. He also wants me to buy junk for a chance to get a Rolex. And I thought he was a cool guy. Oh well, that sums up my Rolex visit. Now I mentioned that I had done some research. I'm going to talk about my secret plan to get around the waitlist. Those 2 videos will be coming up next. Until then, happy watch hunting and see you in the next video.